Hi everyone, I'm John Fenzel. You know, as the year was winding down a week ago, a friend asked me for my favorite news moments of 2018, and there's lots of them, but one I thought I'd quickly mention is about a gentleman from a small village in Kenya called Kapsisiwa. His name is Eliud. He was raised by a single mother who was also a teacher, and he only knew his father from pictures because he had died when he was very young. As the youngest of four children, Eliud just loved to run, but at first it was only really a way for him to get back and forth from school more quickly. One of his heroes growing up was Patrick Sang, who was an Olympic silver medalist who is widely respected in Kenya and especially in this village of Kapsisiwa. Sang had left for the University of Texas and he'd won an Olympic silver medal in the steeplechase before returning to Kapsisiwa, where he organized sports events. He had met Eliud at one of them in 2001 when Eliud was just 16 years old. He said there was this kid who would come and ask me for a training program, so every 2 weeks I'd give him a program to follow, and this just went on for months. And so after finishing school, Eliud helped support his family by collecting milk from neighbors and selling it at the market. He continued to run, never realizing that all the while he was laying a foundation for what was soon to be a remarkable career. Eventually, Eliud entered a local race, and to a surprise, he won. And also to a surprise, Patrick Sang was there too. And when he asked the 16-year-old for his name, he was surprised. He said, "Your mother was my kindergarten teacher," Sang had told him. And so Sang asked Eliud what his practice times were, but Eliud told him he didn't know because he didn't own a watch. So Sang gave him the Timex. It was right off of his wrist, and they've been together ever since. Eliud continued to train under Sang's supervision, and they trained hard. 2 years later, he won the gold medal in the men's 5,000 meters at the World Athletics Championships in France. He had beaten a future world record holder in the 5,000 meters and an existing world record holder in the mile. At the time, Eliud was just 18 years old. Despite his early success, Eliud had his bad days. In 2012, in fact, he had finished 7th in the 5,000 at Kenya's Olympic trials and wasn't selected for the Olympic team. So that day remains his big disappointment, but he used it to his advantage. Rather than feel sorry for himself, Eliud looked in the mirror and revised his whole approach to racing, deciding to make a pretty dramatic move by moving away from the track into the roads instead. So he decided to be a marathoner. A year later, he won his first marathon in Hamburg, running it in 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds. At the 2016 Olympic Games, he won the gold medal in the men's marathon. Several months ago, in September, I believe, he set the world record in Berlin, shattering the world record by over a minute in 2 hours, 1 minute, and 39 seconds. Eliud has since become an inspiration and even an icon, not only in the running world, but also in his native Kenya. For Eliud, it's all about freedom. He says, "I always tell people that this is really a simple deal. Work hard, and if you work hard, follow what's required and set your priorities right. And then you can really perform without taking shortcuts." He says, "If you're taking shortcuts, you can't be free." Eliud sets his goals, not a lot of them, but the ones he has are big ones. He wants to defend his Olympic title, he wants to beat his personal best, and he wants to show future generations the value of running. He's every bit the world champion in his sport as Michael Jordan or Cal Ripken are in theirs, and yet Eliud Kipchoge is still hardly a household name. But he should be, because he's the greatest to ever run 26.2 miles in the history of the world. And here's something else I think that's very cool about Eliud's relationship with his mentor and his coach, Patrick Sang. Today, when you ask him about Patrick Sang, Eliud says, "If I hadn't met him, my life would be completely different." So think about that for just a second. We all have those people in our lives, don't we? I mean, as we begin the new year, maybe it's constructive to think of those lives that we've influenced, or more importantly, those that we could influence going forward. You could be mentoring a future world champion. So that's Eliud Kipchoge, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm John Fenzel. I thought that you'd like to know.